Hi guys, I'm Marcia Salter, and welcome to Riffin with the Rabbi. We'll be riffing with Rabbi Ben here. Everywhere else, it's just Tuesday. But in New Orleans, it's Mardi Gras. And one of the features is that these guys, dressed up as skeletons, come out into the streets at 5:30 in the morning. Can you guys see these guys? Can you see that? That's the Skin and Bones, the Northside Skin and Bones gang. We want to give a shout out to Bruce Sunpie Barnes, who's the chief of the Skin and Bones gang. And what Sunpie says is this, and we're going to riff off of this particular statement from Chief Barnes. Our purpose when we come out on Mardi Gras Day is basically we're bringing spirits back. We bring back our past family spirits, the spirits from the cemetery to the streets, and turn them loose on Mardi Gras Day in the morning for Carnival. Now, where can we find a purpose to use this same, call the spirits of the ancestors, and use those same spirits right in our here and now?
Well, and maybe in Judaism too. Yeah, it's a great question. I want to start by talking about just like a little bit of the background of Mardi Gras and Carnival, because I think it's very interesting, and the parallels between that and Judaism are interesting. Mardi Gras is, of course, Carnival, which is right before Ash Wednesday, also called Fat Tuesday. I guess, is that today's Fat Tuesday?
Today is
Fat Tuesday. Okay, well, happy Fat Tuesday.
Happy Mardi Gras.
Happy Mardi Gras. It's something like, I think, 47 days before Easter or something. So yeah, I'm not an expert on Christianity, so I'm more of an expert on Judaism. But I can tell you about the parallels, right? Which is that right when this time is happening, it's around March. This coincides with the Hebrew month of Adar, which we just entered. I think it was on Sunday. It was the first day of Adar with the new moon. Yeah, and Adar is very similar to Carnival, Mardi Gras sort of feeling. Adar is seen as a time when you're supposed to be happy. There's a famous phrase that says, Misha nichnas Adar marbim b'simcha, that when you enter Adar, your happiness increases. And so you're supposed to be happy. And then Purim happens in the month of Adar. And Purim is very much Carnival, right? Purim, you dress you wear masks, you drink a lot, you celebrate, everything's kind of turned upside down, it's all like, backwards. And it's sort of this celebration. I've heard several etymologies of Carnival. So the one is Carnival means farewell to the flesh, but it's like carne and val, and some people say it's actually farewell to meat, like because you're not eating meat anymore for Lent.
Latin, right? Carne.
Right. And then it's kind of a folk etymology that it's farewell to the flesh, the sort of the fleshy part of ourselves, like we're giving up our
envelopes here.
Yeah, well, we're giving up our sort of carnal selves. Carnal, right? We're giving up our carnal selves for our spiritual selves, right? At least in the Christian tradition, where you're having these days of Lent, right? So that's one etymology. Another one is really sort of interesting to me, is that it's there was a Roman festival around this time of year where they would send out this ship for Isis, for the goddess Isis. It was called like Isis Navigalis or something like that. And it was a time when the seasons were changing, and you were sort of saying goodbye to one part of yourself and entering another part.
The renewal phase.
Yeah.
The spring.
Right, and that's really what's happening now. It's the seeds of spring, right? spring is right around the corner. We're feeling a lot here with the weather, right? And so, okay, so now back to Purim, right? So Purim is just the same sort of festival, right? That takes advantage of sort of the warming weather and this feeling that spring is coming and it's time for a little bit of levity and happiness. So you're supposed to laugh and be happy and make fun of things and make fun of people and yourselves. And so now, how does that relate to the spirits coming back? I think that's interesting. That's an interesting question. I don't know. I think I think you could say that for basically any festival. In Judaism, in particular, we call upon the ancestors all the time. 3 times a day we say the Amidah, right? Which is the central prayer of Judaism. Such a big prayer that it's called the prayer, Ha-Tfilah they call it. And the first blessing, the Amidah, is calling upon the ancestors: Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. But when you think about them, you think about all of our other ancestors, the spirits of all those who have come before us. So I study Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, and in Jewish mysticism, there is the concept of an Ibor. Have you ever heard of this?
Right.
An Ibor it means impregnation. But it's the opposite of a dibik, which you probably, if people have heard of, which is an evil spirit that attaches itself to your spirit and causes havoc. Well, an Ibor in Kabbalah is a good spirit that comes down and attaches itself to you and helps you. And so, this is kind of the vision I have here, is that, what they're doing is they're calling on these good spirits. Mm-hmm. They're calling on the spirits of their ancestors to come down and help. I think it's a beautiful sentiment, It's a beautiful thing that I think it shouldn't just be once a year, as in Judaism, we do it every time we say the Amidah, we call on the spirits and the ancestors. And in many Eastern religions, there's a huge focus on ancestors and the spirits of the ancestors helping. So I think it's a beautiful thing, It's a beautiful way of metaphorically, but also, in a certain way,
practical.
In a certain way, they're still with us. Mm-hmm. My grandparents who escaped the pogroms in Russia, they're still with me, and they inform me, and they say, they come to me when there's 2 bomb threats at the JCCs here in town, and they're sort of here with me and experiencing it with me, and their wisdom is here, hopefully informing me and the way that I'm going to behave. And hopefully the wisdom of all our ancestors will be informing the way that we behave.
So then we can use that and make their memories for a blessing.
Right. We make their memories as a help for us, as a way to bless us and to make us be better, to evolve beyond some of the problems that they might have had. Now the question is history just a cycle that repeats itself over and over again? And are we inevitably just
doomed to?
Are we just stuck in recreating the same toxic patterns throughout all of history? That right now, what's happening in America with all this anti-Semitism. I know. I made a Facebook post about it yesterday, about the 2 bomb threats that happened in town, and a friend of the family said as a comment, that she's very worried, and that she's worried in particular that people aren't taking it seriously enough. Just like in Germany, they didn't take it seriously enough before Hitler rose to power. And maybe that's true. I don't know. Maybe we're just doomed to repeat the same sorts of patterns again, but I would like to think that we learn something through time.
And then move forward with our enlightenment and light the path instead of making it darker and tripping over the same.
Right, and that our ancestors can inform us. The mistakes they made can teach us not to make the same mistakes. The things that they did right, we can learn from to do those things right as well. You know, they're still here with us. They're still present with us.
It's a nice feeling. That's very comforting. And another comforting thing that you've done is to create Stiebel, where people gather. And we've had several gatherings. Stiebel is very child-friendly.
Mm-hmm.
We have the intellectual component. We have the spiritual component. And then there's music, the musical component. And when is our next
Stiebel gathering?
Mm-hmm.
The next Stiebel gathering is this Saturday, March 4th, at Zion Episcopal Church in Dobbs Ferry, 55 Cedar Street.
What time?
4:30 to 6:30 p.m. And yeah, I mean, I think it's something that's really necessary right now in our communities, especially like liberal Jewish communities, and in the world. You know, that we need a way to be together as community and connect with one another. And express ourselves and bring our gifts to each other and have creativity and deep discussions with one another in a way that's just beyond the screens of Facebook.
It's creative communication. So will you grab your guitar?
Sure.
And will you, in keeping with what you just said, will you like Hine Matov Manayim?
Sure, why not? Hine Matov. But I do everything in a different way, so
Go for
I'm going
it.
to do it sort of a reggae.
All right.
I like that's sort of my jam is that
Hit it.
Nia Bingy beat. Rabbi is going to be there. Margie, you're going to be here.
I'll be there. Yes, I will. Wouldn't miss it. The Stiebel rocks.
Stiebel rocks. Finish. Lower right-hand corner.
Lower right.
Shevet Achim
Gam Yachad.